am live. Oh my God. There it is. Yeah. This
Nice.
time, if you're watching live, you got to see us headbang like idiots.
That's
Or
right.
at least me headbang like an idiot. Hi, Adam.
What's going on, buddy?
So, Adam is taking a brief reprieve from his vacation and
Yeah, man.
sunburning
That's right.
to talk to all of you.
You can see the color here, but
Yeah, it was like summer for a minute in Michigan last week, and then this weekend, with the pool open and the boys over, it was fall again. So,
decided to snow.
well, knock on wood, not yet, but she was a
guess.
chilly one. Yeah,
I bet the water's cold in the pool still, isn't it?
it was 71, I think it was.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
not horrible.
Yeah, I think our pool is 83-ish. The lake right now is about 79, 80, which is just perfect.
Beautiful.
Perfect. So, yeah.
So we just wanted to come on and do a Sunday nighter. So if anybody's
No
listening.
tinfoil tonight. No tinfoil.
Yeah, no tinfoil. Yeah, had my kids this weekend. It's always great having my kids. I love them to death. But they are 11, and they love to annoy the hell out of each other. And it's just a constant battle. Like, don't touch me, don't touch me. Well, then stop touching him. Well, I didn't this time. Oh, no shit. But you did last time. Why are you sitting on his head, dude? Come on, man. Dude, stop shooting the gel gun at him. He asked you to stop. Dude, why are you shooting him from 6 inches away? But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yep.
I wouldn't
Sounds
have it
like
any other way.
a friend of mine. Like, so my brother and I are about 4 years apart. So anytime we got into stuff like that, it was always my fault. So at least I always got in trouble. But I got a buddy who's got a son who's 10, 11, and then the daughter is 8. So they're just close enough that they play together pretty well until they stop playing together really well.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jack will pick on her, but Savannah is just hell on wheels. Like, will jump off the couch and atomic elbow him on the top of his head from behind, like just sneak attack. It's
Nice.
hilarious. But they go hard at each other. So, I feel you.
Yeah, it's I mean, I guess, I don't remember doing that, but I don't know if that's adult amnesia. Like, I never did that shit when I was that young. And
Yeah.
I was also raised by my great grandparents all alone. So if I would have had, my best friend lived next door, like a football field or two away. And so, I mean, we had our scuffs. I mean, I threw a baseball at him one time and hit him in the foot. And he hobbled home, and he threw my trapper keeper out of the car once. So I guess.
Trapper keepers.
Yeah, dude, trapper keeper, man.
Dude.
Those things need to come back. Anybody listening with any kind of funding, you should start a small business of trapper keepers, because those things were.
Well, I mean, we practically have brought the 80s and the 90s back, so I'm sure.
We're due then.
Yeah, Mead or whoever that makes all the notebooks. They should just reintroduce them. Pretend like it's something brand new.
Do the right thing. All right. Bring back the trapper keepers.
That's right.
Just add it like a phone slot, like a cell phone slot.
Built-in charger?
Dude, that hit my head as soon as I said it, like a chargeable battery slot.
for a little
Yeah.
power bank.
All right. If you got the funding, we got the ideas. Soberheathen@yahoo.com. Oh, hey, what's up, Sober Thinker, man?
Oh,
Good to see you, dude. It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute. All right. So we Mrs. Mary Beth from Junkie to Judge, author of From Junkie to Judge, posted an article yesterday or this morning, and I thought it was kind of interesting as I was reading through it. I put the link on YouTube if you're watching that way, but everybody watching right now is watching on X. I posted the link earlier, and I picked one to kind of start a discussion. The title of the article, and it's by Julian Buchanan at WordPress. It's called Drug Policy Myths Dominate Our Discourse. And what it goes on to exposing 75 fallacies that underpin drug policy.
What?
So I'm not going to sit here and go through 75 of these things, but I did kind of semi on purpose and semi randomly pick a handful of them. Adam's on a cell phone tonight, so
Yeah.
he is at my mercy. I can pick the ones that I want to discuss, and there's nothing he can do about it.
It's true. Pardon the interruptions, too.
It's all good. So good. So start with the one that I posted on X. I posted myth. The myth is people take drugs because they have problems. What? Myth or not a myth, Adam? What do you think? Or should I read what she says? And then we comment
I'm
on
going to
what
say myth.
Okay. I mean, I think
some people
Yeah.
take them recreationally, and we haven't really defined drug yet. So
yeah, and that's why my instinct first when I read it was like, well, duh.
yeah. So if you go the definition that everybody's thinking of, then it's still myth.
Right. Well, like I said, like people take drugs because they have problems. I didn't take drugs because, like I don't know. Well, anyway, what she says is untrue. Most people take drugs because they enjoy or seek the effect. Just like alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine, people who have problems are more likely to develop an issue to addiction.
True. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, like I've said multiple times, my introduction to drinking started at a university marching band. So there was no problem to get away from there. It was just all straight up for fun and just to do it. Eventually problems can creep up, and then that's Serpentica's got a good point there to find problems. You
Yeah.
can definitely go down a rabbit hole and say, well, anytime that you're trying to alter your state of consciousness because you don't like the way you feel, that's a problem.
Mhm.
But I'm going to stick with the mainstream societal definitions, and just stick with myth on that one because they are fun. So
Yeah,
some
and I
people
think
don't have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get to that too in a minute in another one. And I think that, I think it's a good point to say define problems, but I think if she's going from like the public that knows nothing about addiction, they're just doing this because they can't handle their problems. But it's a lot more to that.
Yeah, that comes on down the line.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think obviously once I got addicted, I had way more problems than when I started.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a good point that you said. I drank it because I like the effect. Oh, quote from the big book.
Absolutely. That's the whole point.
Yep. All right. Next one. People who use drugs are suffering from substance use disorder. I'm going to go ahead and continue in reading what she says. She says it's untrue, or he, Julian, this could be both. Let me rephrase this. The author says, untrue, untrue, the vast majority of people using drugs do so rationally, recreationally, and sensibly. But unfortunately, we conflate drug use with problematic use.
Absolutely. Yeah. Words have meaning.
I mean, The bars are full all the time, and they are minimally full of alcoholics. But
Very true.
we like to think that everybody is in that. No, a lot of people just go every night that they have a night off and to go to have a good time, go to see the band, and whether they stumble out or not, if it's not affecting their life in a negative way, it's not a problem.
Well, and depending on the night, you might see me in a bar, and
Right.
I'm not there drinking. So
Yep. And I think, I don't know if I might be crazy, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that some people use other drugs recreationally too, where it's not like they're hooked on those things. You know what I mean?
I know tons of people who can do cocaine for a night just for fun because they want to and not have an issue with it. Drugs, pot, anybody that does heroin recreationally.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of recreational needle users,
Yeah, I don't either.
right? But definitely cocaine.
Yeah,
You know, I just and I think people would be surprised
yeah, coke,
because I mean
MDMA, ecstasy.
we,
I know people who
we
do
found
those.
man, I almost said I don't give a fuck. We found cocaine in the White House recently, right? So
Yeah,
it you wouldn't people there's so many people that look up to those people like they're gods. Well, they fucking had it in the White House.
yep, very true.
All right, next myth. Harm reduction doesn't support abstinence. So the author's thought was harm reduction isn't about getting people off the drugs, it's about working with people to reduce the risks. However, in some cases, abstinence might be a good way to reduce risks. So, harm reduction incorporates abstinence, but only if the person is ready, able, interested, and wanting to become abstinent.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of those one-way streets. Harm reduction includes abstinence. Abstinence does not include harm reduction.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Hi,
and I
Alice.
have no problem with either. So,
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things about harm reduction. I mean, some people can't stand it because it's like, oh, you're letting people use. Well, I would much rather see somebody use in a safe place
yeah,
with under clean conditions, using clean tools, and God forbid something happens while they're there. I mean, that'd be a good thing, right?
yep.
I mean,
And
a
well,
much
and then
better.
the example you use all the time about recovery is, somebody that's going from a fifth a day drinker to only drinking on the weekends, to only drinking every 30 days, to only drinking every 3 months. That's harm reduction.
That's harm reduction. Oh yeah, it is.
And I mean, and to me, that's a great thing.
That's exactly harm reduction. Absolutely. Thank you for remembering that. All right, I'm going to save that one for last. This is an interesting one. Drug testing will tell if a person is on drugs.
Ooh, Biff,
Yeah, what do you think about that? Before I read it.
Biff. Drug testing will tell if a person has used or ingested or been around drugs within a certain amount of time based on the efficacy of the test. So, you can smoke pot and then 45 days later, if it's a really, really good test, still might get trace results. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
that I here's one thing I hate about my job, or that about what I used to do for this other company, because we had to do drug tests. And so, say somebody accidentally cuts themselves, they have to go get stitches or something. They're going to do a drug test at the urgent care. All right. And if the guy has anything in his system that shows up on the drug test, then he's going to get fired. He's not going to get any workers' comp or anything. So a guy can go home on a Friday afternoon, stressed out, decide to smoke a joint, be perfectly sober and in the right frame of mind when he gets to work on Monday. But because he did something Friday night, we're going to hold that against him.
yeah.
Whereas you can show up to work and be above the legal limit, hurt yourself, and nothing's going to happen to you.
You ready for this?
Their job. Oh yeah, that's what I just said. Huh?
Hey, Alice and Adam are on the same page. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. That it is very unfair, especially
So
when it comes to THC.
so this is a debate or a conversation that's had a lot in the safety and HR circles, is because you know states, municipalities are decriminalizing marijuana. We have CBD now that is technically not illegal. I mean, it's not illegal. You can use it, but it still shows up as THC on a test because most of the tests that employers use are very, very poor. Most of the
Mhm.
tests that clinics use can't differentiate between the two. And so there's no way to tell if you use CBD or if you use THC.
Yeah,
So I
good point.
think, I think if you want $1 billion idea, it's to make some type of drug test that says this person is technically intoxicated now with THC.
Right.
Beyond bloodshot eyes and obviously the munchies, all that fun stuff. But if somebody shows up to work and you give them a blood test or a drug test and it says, hey, look, this person is still above a legal limit of
Hmm.
THC. That's the $1 billion idea. But if they take that test and they're below the legal limit or whatever, then hey, you can't hold that against them because they did that on their off time,
Right.
just like somebody who drinks.
Sure.
My thought on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, Alice says that's why lab tests are so much better.
Yeah.
Well, turns out I work for a company and we do lab testing. I watch dudes pee every day, 4 days a week, and we send these tests off to the lab. Recently, we had a gentleman come in and he tested positive for codeine. It was a positive, therefore, that's a strike against him, right? So
Why codeine?
well, our lab, whenever anything comes up positive, they automatically do a confirmation test. It's part of the pricing. They did the confirmation test and it was still positive. But this dude's like, what the hell is going on? I don't even know how that would be in my system. I don't know. So I called up the lab. He was willing to pay for a retest, which was cost him, $10 or whatever. And I took his payment. I called up the lab. They're like, well, we already did a confirmation test. I'm like, well, he's already paid for it. He'd like you to do it again. Okay, no problem. We keep the screens for 90 days or whatever. We'll retest it. Guess what? When they did it again, nothing. And that was with the test and the confirmation test that they do automatically, or so they say.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
exactly.
So it's like I don't trust any of it anymore, man. I don't
Yeah.
trust any of the testing. I don't, it just it kind of blows my mind. And I know that it's government stuff, and nobody should be surprised that the government sucks at everything that they do. But now everybody comes in. We got minors. You got people that are under 18 coming in, and they'll do a test and be like, yeah, it's going to have THC in it, and their POs are just like, okay, that's fine, and I'm okay with that. Okay, my thoughts are, if you're not hurting anybody, do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? So, but then you'll have people that come in, they're on heroin, they've been on cocaine, they've been on other drugs or whatever, and they go out and they have a couple beers fishing, and that doesn't do it for them, right? But they did it, and then because they fucked around and knew they were testing, so that's what everybody will say. Well, you should have done it if you know you're on, and then the ETG test will come back and they'll have alcohol in their system, and the next thing they're spending 6 days in jail.
Mm.
And I totally understand. You're already in trouble, just don't do it and risk it. And some of these people are on paper for a very long freaking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, I'm gonna go off on the rails here for a second because I can't talk really about it, but I'm not gonna say their names. But there's two people recently at work, guys that have been coming in and doing their absolute fucking best to get their life on track. This one dude in particular was looking for work, looking and looking and looking, and he's like, I'm using my girlfriend's car, and and she's got 5 kids, none of them are mine, but I want to help take care of them. I want to do this, I want to do that. Dude finally gets a job, and he's killing it. He comes in, you know, walking tall. You can just see the positive energy coming out of him. You know, yep, they're telling me I'm doing a great job. You know, I'm the only one that's doing this now. You know, and it's great. You know, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to go to that business and I'm going to give them some support. Well, it turns somebody got sick and we didn't have going, I think, and now this happened. So, dude gets a job there. On the side, he's doing Uber runs, and he missed a drop from his PO. Put him in jail for 6 days. Job's gone. Jobs are gone. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
What-
the system's broken there.
What the fuck is, you know, he missed a drop. Well, them's the rules. That's what some people will say. And those people just
Yeah.
drive me fucking nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this dude has been in and out of jail and fighting addiction and numerous other things his entire life. I don't even know if it's addiction. I shouldn't have said that. But he's been fighting all these things that he's been fighting, because you don't have to be dropping every day for just an addiction. You can be dropping because you did something else silly or stupid. But did this dude deserve to lose his job that he was so happy for? You know, and then another guy just started working in another really good facility. We frequented all the time. It was good to see him back behind the counter, you know, doing what he was doing. And he missed one too because he was working. And bam, we got an email. He's in jail, no bond. We'll let you know when he's out. Job's gone, probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, businesses are having a hard enough time finding people to work anyway. And then you finally fill the role, and this person's going to be gone for, well, we can't tell you how long, because the courts are going to shove their thumb up their ass and spin for a while before they make a decision.
Yeah,
Fuck that one. And good dudes, dude.
Yeah.
Two really good dudes. Very polite. They come in, you know. You know, I just want to be done with this.
That stuff.
Yeah, I just want to be done. That's what they keep saying. I just want to be over. Well, you keep fucking them up the rectum with these things. It just irritates me, man, because these aren't guys that are coming in here fucking around. You know, I've had assholes come in here and tell me to shut up, you know, or I'm making too much noise, or, you know, getting pissed off about every little thing, like it's my fault that you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not these guys. These are good guys. I hate that missing a test is the same as a positive test, even though you didn't touch anything. It's the same thing. I get it, but I hate it since the testing feels degrading and humiliating. Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, you're a woman. You can't even sit down on the toilet. You got to hover. So you got to drop your pants all the way down, and you got to hover over the toilet so that the lady watching you can see everything that's going on, right? And the dudes, it's technically the same thing. You're supposed to drop, and, you know, you're exposing yourself to people. It is humiliating. But I don't understand. While the state is forking up all this money anyway, you missed the test. I need you in here ASAP. I'm going to do I'm going to do a lab on you. You know what I mean? That can go back days. You're still going to know if they used the reason why they missed, right? Then if they don't show up, I feel like there's a better way, man. I feel like people, you know, when people are stuck on probation for years, it's just really hard to navigate life when you got to go see your PO X amount of times and you got to show up for these drug tests. You know, anyway, I went off on a tangent, but it's frustrating.
No, it's a great illustration of how the court system is not set up to help people succeed who are trying to succeed in life.
Yeah.
You know, our court systems are set up to punish. Our court systems are not set up for rehab. And parole for drug and alcohol related issues for people who aren't like violent offenders is not set up to make them succeed. It's set up to punish them.
Dude, I got a 70, I think he's 74 or 76-year-old dude coming in to test. Dude can barely hear me talk. And he shows up to my groups every Tuesday nights, though. And I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? What's that?
Huh?
How you doing? Oh, yeah, you know, doing pretty good, mowing the lawn. Yeah, trying to find a woman to help me mow the lawn. All right, I'm saying too much. Sorry. But I got to keep down on my sharing here. So before we go back to the list, Lonnie asked, what motivates somebody to stop drinking outside of avoiding consequences?
No, I personal improvement for me. I mean, not feeling like shit all the time. I guess you could call that a consequence. So, uh, excuse me. Try not to talk too loud. Um, I mean, again, we have to, I guess, define consequence because anything that's negative could be a consequence. But if we're talking about just punishment, for me, it was turning my life around. I mean, my life was going off a cliff on fire very quickly. So I did not want that happening. Um, I wanted to be who I knew I could be and who I used to be. And the desire to be that person again finally was strong enough to make it happen.
I
I mean,
mean,
that's
would it
just
be
my personal example.
yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult here when I say this, but I think it is the consequences that have to motivate you, whether it's how you feel, the consequences of personal health,
Sure, yeah,
consequences.
yeah.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know what motivates someone. I don't know, but what motivated me was a lot of the same things that motivated Adam. I just,
Yeah.
I was sick and tired of being sick and tired to go back to the old AA. They got a lot of good ones in there, and they are fitting sometimes. I just, I had drinking myself to death and disappointing everybody and had nobody left. I
Yeah.
was all alone in a bedroom except for a 98-year-old woman who would check on me once in a while. It sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just assumed Lonnie was going with like legal consequences that we were kind of talking about, drug
Oh,
test and parole and shit. But
I just think I think he just had something on his mind. So let us know if we helped you out on that one, Lonnie, or if you want to elaborate, please feel free.
yeah, yeah.
All right, let's go right to this one, Adam. I'm going to skip one. Addiction is a brain disease. So the author says myth 11, addiction is a brain disease. He or she says untrue. Yes, the brain will be affected, but the loss of control of drugs, similar to internet addiction, gambling, and overeating, has much more to do with the social, psychological, and behavioral factors than any neurological or sociological, defect. If addiction was a brain disease, MRIs would be used as a diagnostic. Let me try to read gooder. If addiction was a brain disease, MRIs would be used in diagnostic assessments to show evidence of addiction, and chronic addiction would be spread more evenly across society. Whew.
Ah, so this is a much more complicated answer than that little paragraph.
Sure.
Not sure what Julian's background is. Usually when you get lists like these, it's somebody who's trying to just, get people to read, which is exactly what she's doing.
Mhm.
Um, so one, I would have to go with the definition of disease. And a disease is, if you type in Google, define disease, one of the very first ones that comes up, it's going to say any dysfunction or, let's see, how does it say? A dysfunction or lack of function. You typing it in? You can read it for me.
Yep.
I hear you clicking.
Yeah, I didn't. A disorder or of structure or function in a
There you
human,
go.
animal, or plant.
Disorder of structure or function. So that's the definition of disease, right? So addiction then is really three parts, which she kind of touched on. You got neurochemistry involved, you've got the sociological aspect involved, and I think we can all agree that there's some type of spiritual aspect involved. Not in that we're talking about a God or anything, but that if there is something inside of us that we are yearning to understand, to feel, to feel, to experience, or bring back something that we lost there. So we could say that there is a disease component to the neurology because of the brain reward cascade system. and the way that dopamine and glutamate work together when you start using addictive substances. So technically, it could be a disease from that standpoint because the DR2 receptor, which is what dopamine binds to, if you have too few of those receptors, then anything that produces large quantities of dopamine is going to massively affect your brain. Um, and I've got those studies listed on some stuff I wrote a year or so ago, but there are about 50% of the population have an abnormal amount or a lowered amount of DR2 receptors. Of those 50%, so we'll say 25% to make it easy math, the DR2 receptor is there's a lower amount of them due to a genetic mutation. So technically, those people could have a mutated genome, which causes all sorts of diseases. So we could really kind of say that it is a disease. That's the only way that I'll ever argue that addiction is a disease. So go back and read her statement about where she asked addiction is what?
Yeah, addiction is a brain disease.
So
That was
that part right there, I could almost say yes with. I could almost say fact. But from the way that I think the average use of the term disease along with addiction is used, I'm going to go along with myth as well.
sure. Yeah, we talked
That,
about that at
that was a
length.
good one.
Yeah, we've talked about that before in other podcasts, and I'm sure that we'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great explanation, Adam. I'm going to go to the next one. I don't need to add anything to that, I don't think. All right, I'm going to go up to the one that I have underlined here, okay? Recovery, the myth is recovery is about becoming drug-free. Yeah. Is that true, folks listening? I mean, there's 47 of you. Is recovery becoming drug-free? Are you not in recovery until you are drug or alcohol free?
Well, we have yet to define drug.
Sure. So we haven't, that's true. We haven't, as far as this discussion, and I guess this author should have defined it for their author, right?
The myth was the point of recovery is to be drug free.
The myth was recovery is about becoming drug free, and I'll give you the author's explanation why that's a myth. Recovery is about people who have been dependent on drugs regaining control of their life, but becoming drug free isn't always necessary to achieve that. Some people sort the wave out, and continue to use in a non-problematic way, and some take clean, legal prescribed substitutes such as methadone or heroin as a successful heroin. I've never heard that. I'll say Suboxone, and others successfully lead to productive, stable lives.
Yeah,
but it definitely says methadone and heroin.
I think it says, I think it should have been methadone for heroin.
Right, methadone for heroin. Yes. It's like, in heroin? Dude, I'm doing great, man. My doctor gave me heroin to get off my alcohol problem. So methadone and Suboxone are probably the two most common ones. And then I think it'd be fair to say that, THC is another one to help people with their other problems.
I mean, I know lots of people who do the California sober thing, and some abuse it. So I don't know if their life is getting better. I mean, this is where there is no definition of recovery because it's unique to every individual. Yeah. So if my life was going down the tubes because I was drinking a handle every 4 days, and then I replaced that with smoking a joint once a night, and my entire life is getting better, my health's getting better, I love myself and what I'm doing with life, more power to you.
Yeah. And that's why I try to separate the two every time that we talk about this. Yeah, there's sobriety and there's recovery. Absolutely. And those two things don't, in my opinion, at least for me, they didn't happen at the same time. That recovery started when I personally made the choice to go to that. It's technically my second treatment, but I didn't choose to go that one. When I finally chose to go to treatment for myself
Yeah.
and stay there as long as it took, my recovery began. I ended up drinking a shit ton after that, especially in the month following when I left. But the seed had been planted, the desire was there, and I knew what had to be done. I couldn't find a way once I was back home, which is a discussion for another time about inpatient treatment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alice says, no, recovery is a process of changing your mind about your addiction.
I like that definition.
Me too.
I've never heard anybody put it that way, but I think that's great.
I'm going to leave that up there for a second. Recovery is the process of changing your mind about your addiction. That goes with what I just said, I think. Excuse me. Jesus.
Yeah.
Damn, Dr. Pepper getting to me.
I know. Hey, what was that one I sent you? Was it coconut Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, I've been looking for a 20 ouncer. I don't want to buy it. They got like 24 packs all over the place. And it's like, I'm not ready to go all in on coconut.
I'm not committing.
Yeah, now I'm not committed to coconut right now. I've never found a coconut that I've liked. So
I need the first hit free. Come on.
yeah, I'm wearing this shirt and I talk about it every time I get on the goddamn podcast. Come on, Dr.
Yeah.
Pepper, send me a 20 ouncer. I'm not asking for much. Frick.
We'll tag them when I reshare this. Like, yo, just send us a coupon for one free. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, add Dr. Pepper. Yeah, ship it to me cold. So yeah, I think this is an interesting one. That's why I put it in bold and underlined it. And it is in the eyes of the beholder. I understand that.
Well,
but I think. Go
ahead. Go finish up.
I think it would be more helpful to people, just like we're kind of talking about, throwing people in a cage when they miss a drug test, when they're working and doing everything that you'd want somebody to do. But anyway, don't go back to this guy. If I could have been told and somebody could have explained to me that, look, dude, you're in recovery right now, right? Like you've made these choices, you're doing good. Okay, so, all right, you had a slip. All right. That doesn't mean that everything is gone and everything has to start over. That killed me so many fucking times, dude.
Yep.
That killed me. To go back and get that other chip again, it killed me. And then in the all or nothing attitude. I'm sorry. Some of these people, dude, that are telling that, I don't believe that they didn't go back. And if they didn't, I'm going to say it. I'm not so sure that they're there for, never mind. I'm not going to say it. I'm just not convinced, dude. Like, I don't want to be XRP and be like, well, if you didn't relapse, you didn't really have a problem.
Yeah.
But if you don't have compassion for people that do slip or relapse, then you don't get it.
Yeah.
Because this shit is hard. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to judge people. I'm just saying to sit on a horse and say that, slips. I don't want to say the, relapse and slips are part of recovery. I don't want to say that, but it kind of is, man. But again, as long as you're trending north and things are getting better and you're gaining control and you're changing your mind about the addiction, as Alice said,
absolutely.
I think you're correct. Yeah. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just saying, I love that. Her quote, changing your mind about what addiction is or what it means to you.
Yeah.
So I read I read the intro of the article and read the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 of the myths. Didn't at the beginning he or she say something about defining drugs? Was that part of it?
Oh, let me look. And by the way, Julian is a he because there's a picture at the top. So problem solved on that one.
Sorry, Julian.
All right. So drug, I'll just read the first couple paragraphs and see what we find. Drug law and policy has its roots in fear, ignorance, racism, and vested interest. Sadly, little has changed over the decades. Drug discourse continues to be shaped by punitive populism, isolated tragic incidents, and ideologically driven moral crusades rather than science, evidence, reason, and rationale.
Yeah, it's myth number 1. It says there is a clear pharmacological definition for drugs.
Oh, right there. Okay. Yep.
Absolutely not. So all of our Schedule 1 drugs are, there we go. All of our Schedule 1 drugs are based off of, morals and societal outrages, not necessarily any benchmark standard. It's like, oh, well, we don't like these drugs because this type of people or person or this culture uses them, so we're going to criminalize them. That's how schedules got started.
Yep.
And all the big popular ones are still on there because of that.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that they shouldn't be on there. They definitely should. But when we're talking about heroin and fentanyl, and then we're combining that or classifying that the same as mushrooms and pot, there's a little bit of a discrepancy.
I agree.
So,
Well, the author went on to say, he says, because we know it's he now, there isn't. What we classify as controlled drugs is 1950s and 60s social and cultural construct with no inherent pharmacological rationale. We fail to recognize alcohol, tobacco, or caffeine as drugs, and maybe sugar should be classified as a drug.
absolutely. So, I mean, the definition that I learned when I was in school for health promotion and behavior is a drug is any mind-altering substance.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that that's probably changed in the last 20 years, but I'm sure there's some new woke PC version. But if you go with the kind of standard, any mind-altering substance, you just nailed it on the head: nicotine, caffeine, sugar. You know, heck, I mean, Benadryl.
Yeah, dude. Well, and caffeine. Yep. And that's the thing. Okay. So, and we talked about this before, but we had 53 people listening. So I'm sure somebody hasn't heard us talk about this before. But it goes back to the recovery thing we were just talking about too, with the methadone and the Suboxone and people taking THC for their anxiety and other, pain and that type of thing.
Yep.
And they'll go into certain meetings and they'll get told that they're not in recovery by somebody who is chain smoking before and after the meeting and sucking down, how many cups of coffee during the thing, right?
Yeah.
And just there is some hypocrisy there, and it's
You just
pretty
need to work
bright.
the steps harder.
Yeah, do the steps harder, man. Meeting makers make it. Let me judge you, motherfucker. I just I was kind of serious though, dude, because
I'm completely serious with you.
I've been looking
laugh,
back. Yeah, looking back at this stuff, and seeing all these dudes, like I was the oddball at meetings because I don't smoke. Thank the gods, whoever they may be, that I didn't catch that habit.
That's one of the reasons why I could never, I would not go out and hang out before or after the meeting because I didn't want to be around it.
No, it's disgusting.
I mean, I'm not going to sit there within a group of 10 or 15 guys and sit in the spot of smoke. So
yeah, dude, it was crazy in treatment too, right? So we're all there for a reason. You don't go to, some people are sent there by the courts, but we're all there for our substance use. And they'd always threaten, if the house isn't cleaned up, if people keep doing this, we're going to take away the smoke. No more smoke breaks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
revolt.
Yeah, and people are just like nuts or whatever. And I'm like, I don't care. Go smoke on the porch. It doesn't affect me. I'm in here in the AC. Go do whatever you want. I didn't really care. It was just crazy to me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just we can pick and choose what we want to get angry about, whenever we want. But it's just some of this stuff is just so inconsistent.
Yep, I agree.
Well, looking pretty tired, my friend. Are you good to go for the evening?
Yeah, I think I'm done, man. It's been a long day.
Okay.
We got 3 more of them too. So
all right, we'll go get that aloe on. I'm going to hang around for just a couple more minutes. We'll bid Adam a fond farewell to see if anybody has anything else they wanted to yak at.
yeah, man.
But
I'll catch you again in a few days, and we'll have to do a tinfoil hat again here.
Tinfoil hat, it's coming up.
Sounds good, buddy. Talk to you later.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right. Whoa, that is way too close. But we're up close and personal now with me on this thing. So I just wanted to throw out there too, to make sure to check out the Sober Heathen on X. Most of you are watching from X right now. Jennifer L was on the podcast. It was a good discussion, very good discussion, great discussion, if I might say so. It was a lot of fun. I got to talk about a lot of things. So make sure to check that out. I think I covered all the myths that were on here. Actually, the last one says drug use fuels crime. That is the myth that Julian talks about. The presence of drug and the commission of a crime does not equate to a casual connection. The relationship is associated rather than casual. However, research indicates that prohibition and tough law enforcement fuel acquisitive and violent crime. So I don't know. Drugs fuel crime. There are a lot of crimes that are committed. If I use quote fingers, I don't think that if you're driving and you're speeding and you leave your pipe out in the middle of the, or in the back seat that you forgot about, or, you got a bag of pot and you had a tail light out or something, I don't know, maybe I'm too libertarian for this crap. I just don't see, those aren't crimes, nobody's hurting anybody. Like realistically, there was another client that came in, he turned himself in, right? He had heard that he had another warrant. He missed some court dates. And there's supposed to be some protections here in Michigan for this, but he went and turned himself in and he had a pipe on him. And they tacked on another charge when he went into the jail to turn himself in. They tried tacking on another charge. And he's like, I'm here to turn myself in, man. It's just, it's crazy. Alice. Alice says drug use fuels crime in the sense that it is illegal. If you didn't hunt down drugs with guns, then the cartels wouldn't have any need to protect themselves with guns. That's a great point. I know it's crazy when people like start talking about legalizing more things. You know what I mean? Like, well, if you legalize it, then we just have a bunch of addicts running around. It's like, for real? Then why isn't everybody an alcoholic? Because anybody over above the age of 21 can go to any party store, almost every gas station, buy themselves a 24-pack or a fifth of something. Why isn't everybody doing it? I don't really think it'd get out of control, right? So it might make it easier for the people that are using to get it. They'd be less scared to go get it. They could go down to the corner store, just like they can buy pot now here in Michigan. They go down and get themselves, go get some cocaine maybe down at the corner store. I don't want that, man. But at the same time, is it really doing anything for these people to be locked up and prisoned for all the damn time, for these charges when they're just trying to solve something in their head, right? The drug use is a solution to a problem that they can't figure out. I can't speak for everybody, but alcohol is my solution. It was my solution to all the things that I felt like I should have done in my life up until that point that I didn't do. I had no direction in my life. I had no fulfillment for myself. I had a lot of good people in my life. I've been very fortunate that I've had a lot of good people. But inside, I was hurting. There was a void. And I tried to fill it with as much alcohol as I could. And if people are just using other drugs. Yeah, I don't think we read this one, but it talked about decriminalization drugs is a must. Yes. Yeah, legalization, yes. But decriminalizing, yes. That's a better way to put it. Thank you, Alice. You've been been the second best person on this podcast tonight with your comments. And Adam was on fire, you're on fire. I'm over here just trying to get by here now. Great stuff. Yeah, decriminalizing these things. Definitely. People are struggling with things. And they turn to these substances for a reason. And I don't want to hurt them more just because they're trying to help themselves. You know what I mean? It's hard to ask for help. You know what I mean? It's really hard. Think about it. I try to get my 11-year-olds, now that we're back and have a relationship here, I'm like, guys, just call and text me if you got a problem. Last night, kind of had a really good talk with one of my kids. I was crying, he was crying, we had a good talk. And he's like, at one point he said, I'm afraid. I think I'm bugging somebody. I'm afraid that I might be bugging somebody, or they might get mad if I call them at this time or text them. And it broke my heart. But it's not just 11-year-olds that feel that way. It's a lot of us. Man, I don't want to put this. There's been a lot of times that I should have shared with Miley and I didn't. It's I don't want to bug her. She's got her own stuff going on, or she had a rough day at work. I don't want to bring this up. This is dragging me down. It's hard to ask for help. So I know from experience, alcohol helped me feel better for a minute. or at least not, or give me the illusion. I don't think it's an illusion. It really did, or it wouldn't have stuck like it did. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Getting going, being put in a cage. I don't even call it jail anymore. Maybe it's wrong of me to do that, but it's a cage. So if you're put in a cage for being an addict or addicted to a substance, that's ridiculous. We have enough. I mean, we could help so many people at work. Like our schedule has so many openings. Like if the courts would just say, "Hey, we picked this person up last night. We took him to the hospital to get looked at. Do you guys have an opening for them to come in and talk to somebody?" You know what I mean? Like just, man, we just changes have to be made. It's really sad. And like I talked about earlier, and I don't want to go through the whole story again, but those guys that I talked about that I know that missing those tests and now they're jobless. I mean, what benefit was there? What lesson was there to be learned by putting them in a cage for missing those drug tests? The only lesson they're learning is to hate the system even more. And I'm not saying they're going to do this, and I hope they don't, but fuck it. Why am I even trying? I might as well just go use, because at least I won't feel, I know how I'd feel. I missed the test. Fuck, now I'm going back to a cage. Now I lost my job. Now my loved ones aren't going to be, I won't be able to support my loved ones. That's just terrible, dude. It's terrible. We got to do better, man. I don't know how we do it, but I think together we can do it. I think just seeing, the comments to the post on X and even here on this podcast tonight, together we can push back and try to make something happen. I hope we can, because I think back to that pitiful bastard that was me, not knowing what to do. And, it's like, I always go back to Fat Bastard from Austin Powers. I'm dating myself now because I didn't realize until the other day how old that movie is. But he's like, I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat. Oh, fuck, replace eat with drink. And that was me, man. I was unhappy, so I drank. And then I was more unhappy because I was drinking. Wake up after a night of drinking, trying to, not feel for a little bit, and wake up the next morning. Oh shit, what did I do? What did I say? What did I not do? What did I not say? Where's my bottle? Oh fuck, did somebody find my bottle? It was a nightmare, but it was the only thing that I knew for a very long time. I tell people at work this too, clients, when they come in and talk, it's like the basement here at the house has no drop ceiling anymore. All the tiles are gone. You know what I mean? Because I would chuck them up there. And so the ceiling was gone, and then I started drinking again. Okay, well, now do I hit them? Where do I hide them now? In the chimney, in the couch cushions, in the Christmas tree box in the summertime, under the deck. It's a nightmare. But one thing that never helped me, I was 2.5 years after my third drunk driving. I finally got sentenced for it. I was driving all the way up until then, just about all the way up until then, because I ended up getting my fourth. But they let me drive for almost 2 years after my third drunk driving. They let me drive around, and they didn't give a shit that I had a license, right? These guys didn't give a shit that I was passed out at a stop sign. They impounded my vehicle, didn't take my license, didn't take my license plate, didn't give me a ticket, didn't give me any notifications. It was in the middle of COVID, so that might have had something to do with it. I don't know. But for like 2 years, I was driving around waiting for the sentences. And I would have had my license all the way up to sentencing if I wouldn't have relapsed and got drunk driving in a parking lot. So if you're okay with somebody that just got a drunk driving, not taking their license and letting it sit for 2 years, why take the whole thing away? Not everybody lives in a city. I'm lucky. There's a cab company here. If they go out of business, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have that far to go to work. I can walk, but it's pretty cold in the Michigan winter, and it's kind of hard to stay dry in the rain. And look presentable working in an office. But right? But my point is, what was the point? 2 years I was driving, and half of that 2 years, maybe a little more, I was drinking and driving still. So taking the license, when I finally started, I had sober time. I think when I went to jail, let's see, I had October, November, December. I had almost 4 months sober when I finally went to jail for my third one. So it's just, I can sit here and talk about it all day. It's tough. And it gets tougher when you become a criminal. I'm a felon now. So that because of drunk driving, I've never been violent at all. And I'm not the only one. And I'm not saying this to poor me. There's a bunch of us out there that are felons that have never hurt anybody. Never even really been in a fight. I mean, I got punched in the head a couple times, and I punched my buddy one time when he was a drunken idiot because he's choking me out. But I'm not a violent person, dude. So, but now I'm a felon, and that takes away a lot of opportunities too. And then it's like, well, we just don't understand why you keep coming back in here. Well, because you took my license, you made me a felon, and I'm not speaking for me. I'm speaking for a lot of people. You take all these things away that help us get better and expect us to change. It's just really difficult. I'm sorry, Alice. I saw your post over here. I was running my mouth. Alice says, in rehab, I was able to do an interview with scientists that wanted to talk with addicts about their perspectives on a lot of these topics. The stupid thing is that they gave me $20 in cash as a thank you for participating, and I told them that was a stupid move to give addicts in recovery cash. Here's your sign that you don't know your audience, right? And you know, that is pretty funny. Here's $20. Pat on the shoulder and send you about your way. Man. Well, I'm not going to sit and drag this thing out anymore. I really appreciate up to 58 people. Man, that means the world to have people come in and listen to this thing. I wish I could make it easier. If anybody has any ideas on a better platform to where the communication can be a little better, I'm all ears. Send me a message on X or send me an email at thesoberheathen@yahoo.com. It'd be nice to be able to interact a little quicker and a little more frequently. Lonnie. Yeah, it was supposed to be Tinfoil Sunday, right? So Adam and I decided that we'll maybe during the week we'll do a tinfoil hat. If you haven't seen that episode, the first one, we had tinfoil literally wrapped around our heads. It was a good time. The cows were cut up cleanly, no blood, laser precision. Well, clearly those are ants or maggots, right? Just ants and maggots, that's the answer. Yep. Surgical precision, those ants and maggots, dude, they do a great job. But yeah, check out the previous episodes. If you enjoyed tonight, Adam and I have done quite a few. I was thinking about maybe coming on now that I've had more people start listening to the podcast. I was thinking about going through and telling my story here, maybe this week, and going from the beginning and going through that whole thing, because I know there's a lot of people that haven't heard that yet. Not saying you're interested, but if you are, maybe we can do that tomorrow. But anyway, thank you so much. It means the world to have people interact and to listen. And we will see you soon on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Good night.